I think this is, to be honest with you, I think this is a pretty good area. Definitely, if you're long in the market, I think it's a pretty good area to go in and log on out or drop them off here. We still don't have a setup here yet in the euro. I mean not euro, but in the crude oil market. But we've already hit our levels here, 33.10 here on the 30-minute, 33.11 to 61%. We saw some people, basically stepping in and just buying this thing, just basically pounding out. And so we've got a pretty decent area here. We're starting to see a little bit of a pullback here, and probably should see a little bit of pullback. But we talked about the volume point of control at 32.96. Remember, I said before it was 32.90, but it's really close to 32.96. So I think we're really overdone in here. But let's go on and move into the euro and start off the. So everybody, welcome to the Morning Edge. Actually, Blake is going to be out today. Blake is sick. And I think Callum said something about the audio, but there's nothing wrong with the audio. It might be your system. If you remember Friday, Blake was saying that he had a sick child to attend to, and I think the kid got him sick. So Blake's really weak and under the weather, and so I'm having to go in and cover through till Kit comes in. So we'll go on and cover the euro and the other majors, and then I did post up. I bring up some charts. I haven't done any technical work, but if anyone has any questions on any of the cross rates, which I don't cover on the European crossover, then just go on and ask, and I'll be glad to go on and take a look at those. Yeah, DJ says the audio seems fine here. So we just point out, like I said, we're at a pretty key level here in the crude oil, but like I said, no setups yet as far as trying to take a short trade. Although, like I said, we came into some very key resistance. Also, volume point of control coming in at around 32.96. I think initially I said 32.90. It really should be 32.96, and this whole area is a little bit thin up in here, but we don't have anything yet. Market's struggling a little bit, just a little bit hesitant up at these levels. May want to go and see the market work a little bit lower. I think that the market PMI may provide a little bit of an additional hold here. I think that the crude oil is trying to find a bit of a short-term bottom. Although I think we'll see some nice two-way action, but I think this is a very good area if you're already long to go in and exit out of the market. You have to see how much further they can push them. I think the risk on this is at 33.20, so it's not even, you're not even risking that much, 20 cents. But I think it's a pretty decent area. You'll be able to see the market probably pull back to at least 32.83. We're starting to see some support here in the euro. We're going to discuss the euro. Like I said, Blake's going to be out today. He's really sick, so I'm going to go and fill in for him. Steve Bilby's going to fill in for the Lunch Money webinar. I'm going to go and we'll cover the euro and what the backdrop is, or what the overall technical picture is. I focus a lot on price structure. One of the things I said, if you remember, we're going to talk about this, is, I told Blake I thought that. And so we're all on the same page, at least in the way that I like to look at the markets. I incorporate a lot of price structure. And if you remember, probably sounded pretty crazy, but when the market made this new high up in here, I said, at the time I came out with Blake, and we were trading up in here, I said, this was a death knell for the bulls. Because my whole thinking was, if you remember, I was looking for a big rally in the euro coming out of that big old triangle that we had. And I came in that morning with Blake on Tuesday and said, hey, I'm looking for a big move in the euro. At the time, the dollar yen was already pulling back, not to the levels it's at now, which I didn't see that necessarily happen. But I was looking also at the dollar CAD, and I said, we're seeing a lot of weakness. for the dollar. I think the euro's getting ready to take off. And I said that on Tuesday morning, and lo and behold, Tuesday afternoon, we ripped them up here. So fine, we stopped out a lot of people. So we came up here, we took another run up here. That makes sense. And we come back and we're going to look for, support, maybe towards this 1070. And we take a rally up here, and if you remember, I ended up getting short here. It was 1268. That's where I went pretty short on here, on the way back up. So we made this last run up here, and that was a bit of a surprise, but fine. We got a nice, this is not a shooting star. Some people think it's, take it the wrong way. The shooting star, the wick is going to be a lot longer. This would be really, although we've got this little extra butt at the bottom, but this is really closer towards, if you put this arrow in front of that little butt right there, this is really more a graveyard doji, which is, as we came into resistance, fine. So they goosed him a little bit extra, that's fine. What I would have rather seen was for the market to go on and come down now to 1070, and then I thought we had a chance to really work them higher, maybe eventually up into upper 114s, maybe 115. But this last move up here, this is what I thought was a death knell. And I came in that morning and told Blake, I think this is a death knell for the bulls. Sounded crazy, but I thought it was a death knell because I said there was no participation. We've really come too far, too fast. I think this is it for the bulls. I think it's a bad sign, a bad omen for the euro. We're going to have to work a whole lot lower. I thought still we were going to go to this 1070. So we come into this last week, and people were trying to buy this because they thought, okay, this is a very good area considering how far we've fallen. But they weren't getting rewarded, and we kept seeing where the market, we would come down to this low and get a feeble rally. Make a new low, here's this low. We make a new low here, another feeble rally. So we'll go on and highlight this for you. So we'd make a low here, feeble rally. We'd make a low here, we'd take out the low, the prior low, here, and another feeble rally. We take out the low again, here, and another feeble rally. All this pointed to lower prices, which is what we've been doing fairly well in the euro in the European crossover webinar, as far as reading how this market would play out. So we talked about this 1070, and I thought maybe that we could have a chance to make it even down here. But we made down to this 1070 and another feeble rally. So we were looking, I go, I think this could be a very nice buy if we can come down. I talked to Blake, come down to 1036. I go, I think this can be, I'm telling Blake, I go, this is my target. I think you can buy this thing. It's going to be great here at 1036 in light of the way the market had been trading. But when we came in on Friday in the European session, they rallied them all the way up to 1139. So everybody that had been long and wrong from this area were able to get out practically flat. And if they bought on pullbacks, because you remember one of the levels I was looking at was 1106, and I think it was 1106, or anyway, we actually got there or missed it by 1 pip or something like that. So anybody that bought in that area, they even had a chance to even make money and overall get out for a scratch, or maybe make a few pips, or get out with just a minor loss. So when we got this, I came in on Friday with Blake and said, you know what, the downside is going to be limited for the euro, because we got the Brexit summit, and the euro pound we know is a huge component or big pair, so that's going to be supportive. And so sure enough, we did pull down, but there was no real fault. We took out, once again, we took out the low by just a little bit, another rally. But I thought this rally was good. Like I said, once we got past the summit, it would open the doors for us to move lower. And sure enough, the news was overall okay in the weekend, and then we gapped them just a hair bit lower, and they dawdled here at 1118, and finally we saw this break lower. The PMIs weren't too bad overall, and we'll take a look at that real quickly. So you look here, the French PMI even came in a little bit better, okay? And then we had the German PMI. This one was a disappointment because it came in much weaker, which really took the wind out of the sails for the euro and really set it up for a bigger move lower, which we started making lower. As we moved it lower here and went into the Eurozone flash PMI, obviously the German PMI weighed on it, so we came in weaker. But the German PMI basically set the wheels in motion for us to go somewhat lower. Now, what we have coming into the U.S. session is the market PMI. And the Reuters poll was for 52.30. The last one was 52.70. So looking for a tad bit weaker. But we've seen a decent rebound overall in the SPOOs. We're pulling back a little bit from the highs we just said a little bit earlier. But my whole thinking has been, like when I had the interview with Anthony Crudele, 11 days ago, I was saying, hey, look, I think this is it. I don't think we're going to go, really lower. I think we're going to work hard from here. We'll start to stabilize. I think we're trading like in the 1840s. We took one more dip, and then we stabilized, and since then, it's hasn't looked back. And I think that we're going into what I believe is kind of like a Goldilocks scenario because it's so bad across the globe. The problems aren't here in the U.S. It's with the rest of the globe. Is that the Fed is aware of that, and they're not going to raise. We'll probably get maybe one more raise, I think, in all likelihood. So that being said, see, right now we're 1032, and that's what I was saying. If y'all remember, I came in and I said, I don't like 1036 now. I thought 1036 was an awesome value area last week. But now when we talked about what I just showed you in the price structure, it isn't a good value area. I would wait for 1015, and we'll go back to the euro. But anyway, so I think we're in a Goldilocks scenario for the U.S. in the sense that the Fed's not going to raise anytime soon, and growth overall is okay, and things will probably start to even out across the globe, and that will allow the SPOOs to go on and rally back up. So let's go and go back here into the euro. So here we are back again. So I thought this 1036, last week, I thought this was going to be a fantastic value area. I thought, man, this is great. I told Blake, Blake wanted to buy him at 1050. I was like, oh, no, wait for 1036. This is going to be great. They're going to come down here. But like I said, when we came in on Friday, we had the rally up to 1139 early in the European session. And all those people that were long and wrong got a chance to get out flat or minimal losses. So we didn't see that downside thrust of action that you would have expected at the end of the week here in the euro. But we thought, well, now after that happened, I told Blake, I go, now the downside is going to be limited now that we rallied up to 1139 because we can have the support of the Brexit summit. Although I figured that would come in, okay overall. So we're seeing the crude oil starting to weaken just a little bit more, 32.93. Because we came in that key resistance at 33.10. Told you the risk was 33.20. But now, like I said, as we came in, everything came in okay with the Brexit. Now they gapped a little bit low and started to work lower. Now we've gotten the European PMIs, and the key one was the German one, came weaker. And you see right now, we're still even making new lows. We're just not seeing that bounce. So that was my thinking. All the people that had got long in here, they already got a chance to get out on Friday. So you're not seeing all these stops being hit that would push it and force a lot of people out, and then the market go on bounce. So now anyone that got short up in here is saying, hey, look, this is a great area to get short, and we talked about that. Now those people are trying to press it for all it's worth, and those people aren't even worried. They're like, you know what, I'll put my stop just above here because I'm not even worried. So you're just not seeing that buying power to come into the euro, and I don't think that that's going to materialize until we get to about 10.15. And we'll go and take a look at that. And I mentioned that to Blake last week and why I think 1015 is so key. Pull this back out. Right here is 1015. Right there. You see this area right here is 1015. Now you can see how the market had treated this as support, resistance, 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 got above it, support, lost it, resistance, resistance, finally get above it, treat it like it as a key battle zone here. We lose it, we try one more time at 1015, right in here. And right in here, this 1015, right in there, right there. So, if you remember correctly, and this was right here, that was actually 1115, but if you remember, when we finally broke out of this area, we rallied all the way up to 1215, right in here, right there. So we finally, we can take a look at this real quick. There we go. So we finally break out of this area. Let me highlight it. So we finally break out of this area and we take off. Looks like we're finally broken out. We've broken out of the trend line and we rally them up to 1215. Then we pull back 200 pips to 1015. And you can see here we come down to 1015, they rally them up to about 1075, and they come back again to 1015. From there, we launch 700 pips. So you can see, although it's not huge, although this is a 2-hour chart, we had a double bottom here to 1015 area. And then, of course, like I said, everything went to hell in a handbasket in China, and we found that support there. Now, as I told you, see, now we're continuing to move lower. That's what I'm saying. Last week, I thought 1036 was a great value area, and I came in as we were discussing the euro and the European crossover this morning. I was saying that's not a good value area anymore. That's not a good value area. I go, you know, the early side we come in now. And if you remember last week, I was telling Blake, hey, 1036, that'll be a great number. We may even get as low as 1028. I'd be buying them. But like I said, when we got this move up to 1139, all these people here that were long and wrong got a chance to get out flat or minimal losses. So that's what I'm saying is 1036 isn't good anymore. At least this morning it wasn't good anymore. So the area to go in and come in, I think you're going to see a decent area of interest. Doesn't mean it launch from there, but it's going to be a good area of interest. Is going to be that 1015. Now you got 1004, you got 1009, it's 127%, and this range here of 1118, 984. But I think that the 1115 is going to be, that's where you're going to see people, let me put it to you this way, I think you're going to see a lot of shorts covering at 1015. So that kind of gives us, you know, where we stand here on the 1015. We'll be taking a break in a few minutes. For those that came in a little bit late, Blake is out sick today, very sick. If you remember last week, he was taking care of his child. He had to step away. He said, you know, take a little bit extra time. And obviously he got sick from his child, so he's really under the weather. So I'm having to, you know, cover for Blake on his webinar, and then Steve Bilby's going to do the lunch money webinar. But you can see here, as I said, from a price structure standpoint, the way, and like I said, on the European crossover, we've done very well with our calls in the euro and how this market was going to go on and find support. If you remember, this was our target initially, this 1070, when we were over here. I was kind of disappointed by this run up here last Friday because I was really hoping that we'd take them lower as we came into the U.S. session and we'd have a chance to buy them at 1036. But like I said, this gave everybody an opportunity to go in and get out. Gave people an opportunity to go in and get out. And so now when we open them up after the Brexit summit, the pressure has been, for lower. So I think, like I said, here you're going to go and start to see some short term, but I really wouldn't be interested until we get down to 1015. From there, you can probably see the market try to build up a little bit, and then we can start to see some additional short covering, like get a nice rally from that. Ultimately, like I said, 964 to 61%. Obviously, the market is really coming under pressure. People always lean on what's happening currently. So you're probably going to see a lot of people think, oh no, we can break a whole lot lower. But I think you'll see some nice short covering as we move down here into the 10-15 area. And we've shown you how that was a very key area. So if you've been short, and we talked about this earlier this morning when we were much higher, then I think that 10-15 is a very good area to be covering your shorts. And I probably wouldn't even wait till we might make it right to 10-15, but I'd definitely be covering those shorts just right as we move into that area. You don't have to wait till the very last bit here. For buying, let's say we'll probably get a nice bounce, a decent bounce, but now the market might be a little bit concerned, might want to see if they can press them here against this 110. But I think the 10, as opposed to if you had come in under 10 or 1070, 1050, I think you get a decent area of value here at the 1015. So that was on the 2-hour chart. We'll take a look here on the 30-minute. Really not a lot of difference, although you can see here we've got the 1015 marked off. And you can see how the perception, not really the perception, but the approach now has changed now for the euro, as people now have gotten exceptionally bearish, obviously, from the way the price has fallen, but the price structure, because all these people that were long and wrong here were made whole or almost whole on that run up on Friday in the European session, only the European session. So let's go in and take a look at the cable. Like I said, this, well, actually, we can go in and start here with the dollar yen, and then we'll take a look at the dollar CAD, and then we'll take a look at the cable. Obviously, we'll be taking a break in just a few moments. Let's go and take a look where we stand here on the dollar yen. Obviously strengthening a little bit. We talked about this on Friday, that this 1260 or 1266 was a very good value area. I haven't really been doing anything at all with the dollar yen, but I mentioned it was a very good value area, and we were trading right at 1266 at the time, or 1268, and my point was I don't think there's a whole lot left, and we did dip a little bit lower, but you can see here there just wasn't very much follow through on this market. Currently, right now, we had this 1347, which the market has kind of pulled back from that area, but realistically, I think you'd have to make a move towards this 1394 if you want to take this market on from the short side. That's the way I would see it. Is that if you want to go and challenge now, 1430 is a very good level, and also whether or not we can make it to this 115. We're going to have to see what the market is made of. I think it's a little bit tough market to trade now at this point, but I thought this 1266 was, and now we're 70 pips, nearly 70 pips, or actually have rallied, I guess 80 pips from that area. But like I said, once you got down to this area, as an area of value, whether you're going to try and short it, I didn't think that there just wasn't the opportunity there at that point. Here. I really wouldn't be interested in engaging the market until we got in between this zone of 1394 to 1430. I think this area, you'll see some decent pushback right in here. This area in here against the 1430. That's what I would, before I would be interested in trying to short this again. The crude oil will dip down, and you know what we talked about? We talked about this market potentially moving down to 32.82. It moved down to 32.87. Now we're back at 33.01 in the crude oil market. So let's go and take a look. Let's go and move in here. It's actually already time for break. And we'll take a look at the dollar CAD when we get back. So hang on one second. I just need to find out where the dollar CAD is. And we'll continue to see the euro continue to break down. And that's what I was talking about, is that when we came in the morning, I was like, no. 1036 isn't a good area anymore. And that's why, like I said, it's, once again, sound like a broken record, but it's all a matter of price structure. And why I said on Friday, and I'm not trying to, pat myself on the back, I'm just trying to give more patting on the back for price structure. Why I said that this move in the European session, early European session on Friday, took the ability to get the bulls who were long and wrong to get able to get out with minimal losses or flat, meant that we couldn't break much lower. And you saw here, we only took out the low by about 3 pips. And then we got that launch, because I said as we came in with Blake, I said this market's going to be supportive as we go into Brexit. And that's sure enough what happened. And now we got past Brexit, opened the door for lower, and as we came into the European crossover, I was saying no, 1036 isn't good anymore. I don't want to come in at that area. We had 1036, 1043. We traded much higher, but I said it's not a good area now. So let's go and take a break. When we come back, we'll cover the dollar CAD, and then we will cover, I guess y'all should just recommend pairs if you want to look at a pair. I will cover the majors, but like I said, generally, I mean, in my webinar, I don't cover cross rates. It's just pretty much, I myself only day trade the euro and the crude oil market, and I'll try and mess around a little bit with the SPOOs. But we're still pressing lower. If you're short this market, I would recommend covering around this 1015 area. So we'll be back from break, and as I said, for those that don't know, Blake's out sick. I'm going to put this out.